Hey there, all you Extra Life gamers. What is going on? Vin here, back with some more Team Fortress 2, and today it's going to be something pretty different, but what you're seeing on the screen here is I'd say soldier, but I actually mix it up a little bit. I go spy for like one life and demo man for a bit on Dust Bowl, and that's just something for you guys to look at, because today I actually want to talk about something pretty serious. And during the video, you probably notice that I'm a little rusty with what I'm doing, and the reason for that is because I haven't played this game in a week, and the reason for that is what I'm going to be explaining right now. If you can read the title, which I'm assuming you did when you clicked on the video, I'm going to be talking about hurricanes, and more specifically, my experiences with hurricanes Sandy and Irene. Which obviously happened a week ago and a year ago, like a year and a month, pretty much. And I don't know, guys, it's kind of weird, just how everything happens. Like, I find it interesting that pretty much wherever you go, you can't escape natural disaster, which is what hurricanes are. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. I mean, think about the U.S., for example. If you're on the West Coast, you got earthquakes. More central, you got some tornadoes. And East Coast, you got hurricanes. And I don't know, I mean, there's got to be somewhere where you can guarantee yourself safe from any of those. But I don't know, guys. Because 2 years ago, I would have never thought that anything similar to a hurricane would ever happen to around where I live. I live in New York. Let's just start with that. I mean, really, it's not like someone's gonna go, "Hey, oh wow, Vinny F lives in New York. Okay, now I know exactly where he is, and I'm gonna go rape him." No, that's not what's gonna happen. It's New York. Anyway, so I guess I should just start getting into. Well, actually, right first, my power was out for about a week. Thanks to Sandy, that lovely person. I'm kidding, by the way. It's not a person or lovely. That's why you weren't seeing, because if for the two of you who care about that Until the End series I was doing with Level, I wanted to put one of those out every other day, but I couldn't because power went out, internet went out. I couldn't obviously do anything about that. But once Level gets his power and internet back, we'll be putting those up again. But yeah, so my power was out for a week, which was kind of weird because my power's never been out for more than like half a day, and even that's saying something. But I was generally fine. No damage at all to my house. Although I do know a lot of people who have flooding damage, and that's because I live relatively close to the water, and I know a lot of people whose houses aren't really there anymore, and it really sucks. So I'll take no power for a week in exchange for a working house, a functioning house, and I was all right because it was actually like. A lot of people were saying things about it getting cold, which, I mean, it was. If you stepped outside, you'd want to go back inside. But a lot of houses couldn't get heat. But thankfully, I actually have, like, this gas fireplace thing, which makes it actually get really hot near it. I mean, it's fire, so I guess it should. But that helped. I mean, I didn't feel like anything was wrong at all in terms of heat. And I also have a gas stove, so food wasn't an issue. And we had a generator, so for the fridge. But regardless, I guess I'll just start telling you guys about Irene, because I think I have a certain experience that not many other people will ever get. Because my situation at home for Irene was pretty fine, but I'll get into that. So I was actually on vacation in the Caribbean. I didn't really want to be there, but, that's for another day, if I ever feel like making a video on that. But I was there, and Irene came around. It was the day we were supposed to leave and go back home. The storm came in, airport shut down. So I was stuck in this resort place with these blah blah mile an hour winds, and my room was literally right next to the coast, and you could see like the huge waves from waters that were really calm. Like you could not attempt to surf. Like I've never seen a wave where someone would be able to surf on it. But yeah, the airport was shut. We couldn't go home. We were stuck there for 3 days. We had managed to make a phone call to a family member who was looking at flight times and everything, and we saw that the next flight was in a week. So we would have had to stay there, and actually, not to mention pay for staying there for an extra week before we could get out of there. But luckily, once the airport did open back up, they added some extra flights in for the people that had to get home. So thank you, JetBlue. But yeah, as we were starting to get home, because we have to take like the shuttle bus thing to actually get there. I mean, to get to the airport, and you could realize, because I mean, at this resort place, it was like there was no flooding at all. Just some trees were blown over, but you could see that there was actually flooding in the entire street, and the airport was probably like underwater a few days before. But yeah, when we did actually get home, and Irene hit in New York, so I was in it for 2 times, which is kind of interesting. But our power never went out, just my internet went out for a day, so I was relatively fine in that. But I was in it a second time, so I guess that sort of makes up for it. But what's weird about this is that just a year later, another hurricane comes around. Because prior to Irene, and like I said, I never would have thought that something like that could have ever hit at all. So when Sandy came around, which was a week ago, obviously, I was getting a little nervous because it was saying how it was probably going to be worse than Irene, which it was. People are calling it a superstorm, but I mean, if you really want any of the details on Hurricane Sandy and all the places that got really affected, I'm sure you could have heard about it already. I'm not going to explain it because I don't really know too much off the top of my head. But, so yeah, our Sandy hit, our power went out, as pretty much everyone would have expected. In my area, well, not in my area, but for my power company, 90% of the people who had... I'm sorry, not 90% of people lost their power, which was a record-breaking number. I don't know if the storm set any other records. Hopefully it did. I think like in terms of floodwaters it probably did. But I'm hoping though that it's probably like that was the worst storm in history. I mean, not history, but in that area at least in history in terms of everything. Simply because I want to have that sort of sense that, well, this was so bad, nothing's probably ever going to match this ever again. Because there was like a hurricane in 1938 or something that was devastating, possibly more than Sandy. I don't remember, but if you think about it, 1938, not as many people would have been around, so there wasn't as much damage to be caused, so it must have been pretty bad. I don't even know what category Sandy was. It was probably either category 1 or 2. But not only that, people are calling it a superstorm because it was combined with a nor'easter, which is a type of storm. I don't really know what it does, but it's a storm, and then it combined with a hurricane, so they gave it the name a super storm. Yeah, but I don't know, because tomorrow, actually, because today's Tuesday, tomorrow a normal nor'easter is supposed to hit, and it's kind of weird because, again, really, but I'm not too worried, although it's supposed to bring some more floods in, and hopefully my power stays on, but I don't know. It's just like, really, come on. But so yeah, my power was out for a week, and my uncle was telling, because he lives a bit closer to the store, to the water, and he was telling me a story about how, well, me and just everyone, I guess, about, well, because his house was fine. He doesn't have a basement. Um, he was saying how, as the storm was going, he was watching cars go by his house, and he was like, it's like, why are people like trying to go to 7-Eleven or something during the storm? Like, really? Like, where do you possibly expect to be going? And then slowly he realized that people were leaving because the floodwaters were coming up, and like they couldn't actually stay where they were. They had to get out if they wanted to, I guess, live, really. Some houses were underwater, for some people that I know of, and I haven't even talked to everyone, but I will at some point. But yeah, for him, his house was raised a little bit, and he's like a mile from the shore, and the floodwaters came up that high. That is pretty significant. I don't know about you guys. So power outages were pretty bad. I know in terms of some other commentators like Star, he was definitely out for at least a week. I don't know if he's back yet, but and Jerma, I believe he lives in Massachusetts. That definitely got hit. He might have been out. I don't know. But he's been uploading some stuff, so I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him because I've never talked to him. But hi, if you're there, if you're watching this, maybe you're not, probably not. Anyway, so more on that. So yeah, but besides all the floods and everything, what I find very interesting is that one of the biggest problems was gas, and that, like, because food, most people were fine. Most people's houses were intact. But what was really a problem was gasoline, because the harbor that brings in all the gasoline got closed. And because of that, the gas lines for stations that still did have gas were enormous. My uncle, that same uncle, stood on a line for 22 hours. That's almost a day, if you know how long a day is, 24 hours. So, yeah. That is a significant amount of time just to fill up his car, and thankfully he also filled up some gas cans that we were able to use, which is nice. And there's still pretty much a shortage, but things are starting to get back to normal. But I just find it interesting that people had to not necessarily fight over gas, but there was the potential to. And I just find that fascinating. But hopefully things are starting to clear up. The clip that I have to show you guys is coming to an end, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up now. So guys, if you have ever been in a hurricane, if you were in Sandy, if you're in Irene, or really any other natural disaster, I don't really know the names of any. Yeah, anything, just leave a comment. Hopefully I can get a discussion going. I know I'm usually lucky to get more than 2 comments on a video, but hopefully you guys can start talking about this. I'll talk with you, because it's a serious issue, and it's something that I would have hoped that no one would ever have to go through. And even for me, it wasn't nearly as bad as some other people, but hopefully everyone who is alright will remain alright. But that's gonna wrap this up. Please leave a like or a favorite if you did. Really appreciate it. You can join our Steam group, as always. And until next time, goodbye.